Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged.
Something about this doesn't add up. We're being told this was a lone gunman, a chaotic moment, a near tragedy that ended as quickly as it began. But when you slow it down and actually look at what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, the story starts to feel incomplete. The official line is simple. A man named Thomas Crooks took a shot at Donald Trump during a campaign rally. He missed a fatal hit by inches. Trump was grazed. One person in the crowd was killed, and the shooter was taken out on the spot. Case closed. Lone actor. No broader threat. That's the version most people heard, and then moved on. But here's the issue. Months later, there are still basic questions that haven't been answered. And in some cases, it's not just silence, it's contradictions. Even people who usually support Trump, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and former insiders, are now openly asking what actually happened. And here's where it starts to break. First, Donald Trump himself. This is someone who revisits old grievances constantly, years, even decades later. But on this, an assassination attempt? He barely talks about it. He said he'd only tell the story once, and then stopped. No repeated calls for investigation. No sustained pressure. That alone stands out. Now pause right there, because that's where curiosity should kick in. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe. Please support the channel by liking the video. We need your support to keep bringing you news like this. Now let's walk through what we actually know. First, the security failure. The shooter was positioned on a rooftop with a clear line of sight. That's not a minor oversight. That's the one place that should have been locked down. And yet, no major consequences followed. In fact, at least one official involved was promoted. Then, the investigation itself. The FBI initially said Crooks had almost no online presence, no clear digital footprint. But later reporting suggested the opposite, that he had multiple accounts tied to his identity. That's not a small detail. That's the kind of thing investigators usually lead with.
Even the current FBI doesn't want us to know.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged. Maybe it was faked. Maybe it was some kind of message to him, although I don't understand that.
Even the current FBI doesn't want us to know.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged.
Now here's the important part. If someone acts alone, investigators typically build a full profile, motive, background, behavior patterns. They show the public exactly who this person was. In this case, that clarity never really came. And here's where it gets interesting. There were also reports of a separate plot involving a suspect with possible foreign connections, someone allegedly linked to Iran who was arrested just days before the shooting. That doesn't prove anything by itself, but it raises a basic question. Were these events connected in any way? And if not, why shut down deeper investigation into that angle? Now watch what happens next. There's footage from the scene showing individuals calmly directing photographers into position right after the shooting, not running, not panicking, coordinating. That doesn't automatically mean anything sinister, but it does stand out in a moment that should have been chaotic. So when you put all that together, a major security lapse, conflicting information about the suspect, limited transparency from investigators, and unusual behavior at the scene. It doesn't point to one clear alternative story, but it does suggest the official one is incomplete. And that leads to one conclusion. There are still gaps that haven't been filled. This matters because trust in institutions depends on clarity. When something this serious happens, an attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, people expect answers, not speculation, not silence. And when those answers don't come, people start filling in the blanks themselves. That's how uncertainty spreads. Not because people want to believe wild theories, but because they're left with unanswered questions. So the real question is simple. Not what's the conspiracy, but why don't we have clearer answers by now? And that's what people should be paying attention to. If you're following this and want to help this channel grow and continue bringing you stories like this, take a second to like the video and subscribe. That support actually makes a difference.